and to, define who the customer is. I've sat down with so many RevOps leaders and RevOps individuals through my time at PR, and I'm like, okay, so let's talk, because I'm talking to them about data and like where they should go find data. I'm a big fan of like, first you want to figure out who your best customers are, then figure out where they hang out and all that kind of stuff. Then go choose your data supplier, right? Because different data suppliers are going to have different specialties and different niches. You can't say one is objectively better than the others. They're going to have better attributes in certain areas, but everybody's strong and weak. They're all different shaped spider graphs. So first you got to figure out where your customers are. And the number of times I've sat down with RevOps people or sales ops folks or sales admins, and they're like, okay, so like we got to build the customer list. I'm like, who's your best customer? And I'm like, I don't know. But somebody handed me a sheet that said like all of these, all of these, all of these. And I'm like, that's 300,000 companies. Like, shouldn't we all on this call know a little bit more than like all 300,000 of these companies? Like, you got 2 SDRs, they're going to have to go and make, 1,000 calls this month. Like, we should probably filter this down a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's where you're slipping into a partner or a support ops framework, right? Like, definitionally, right? It's like, they told me this and I'm doing it. And you'll see those signs of, disempowerment, if you want to call it that. I don't know if that word's right or not, but it'll be like, well, it failed because like the lead lists we got from sales are bad. And I think you're right. It's changing the brain calibration to I'm responsible for making sure we get the right customers. And that's actually where you edge into strong ops. So you can imagine, Colin, if you were in a role where you were playing CRO or chief business officer or, running all go-to-market teams, what's the advisory you're going to give your sales ops team or your RevOps team? Are you going to say, take what they said and go do it? Or are you going to say, no, it's your responsibility to make sure that you know who our customers are and that we're targeting the right customers and that we're not, fishing in ponds that we're not going to win in, and we're not building books that don't make sense. And if you're giving that kind of coaching, you're sort of living in a strong ops ecosystem. You're putting that pressure on the ops team to step up and say, you're signing off on this. Not your job is to take this and go execute process.
Totally. It's funny. It rings a parallel to a conversation we had earlier about, if my sales development team goes and does all this work and they don't get anything, I'm going to turn around and blame the data. And it's like, it wasn't the data provider. It was the work that you put into defining your market. But you can blame the tool, you can blame the data, you can blame the place where you got the data, all you want. But so much of this, your success and failure is going to be a proper definition about who your customers, your best customers are, and a proper definition around the process that you need to go and find them. And I think, in the, I don't want to say weak ops, but in an area where you don't have strong ops, that's going to be harder to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the parallel you gave about the customer success leader. I think one of the things that makes I think even customer support more difficult than customer success is that you spend a lot of time with, customers that failed. And it's really easy to echo chamber into like, these customers failed, these customers didn't win, and not get an accurate counterbalance of, but the number of customers that succeeded. And you're right. It's like, even on like, what is your ideal customer? You can't say we're not going to go target these types of customers, because often when you look at them, the difference between the customer that succeeded and failed is not about the heuristics of the customer. It's not the segment they came from. It's not the economic buyer. It's other intangible things. It could have been not enough political structure in the organization. The EB wasn't really bought in. You can often have identical customer firmographics or profiles, but they just materialize differently. And so I think you're right. It's like, what makes a good customer? How do we find those great customers? And it's complex. And how do we build a model that sustains this and does this well? And so I think that is the heart of like what great RevOps does. And you can kind of see my thesis here that it requires you to break the mold of a supporting or a true partnership cast. You have to lean in harder. And if you don't, I've seen businesses that have really succeeded even with a heavy support RevOps model, but that's because they had great marketing, sales, and success leaders that actually could come together as like a triumvirate and be aligned. More often than not, that maturity happens later. When you're higher revenue and you attract a different caliber of leader, that maturity often does not exist at the startup at 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. That is generally not where you reach that level of maturity.